Hello. Many of you are familiar with David, who is from episode 55 and has been featured in the 2013 Goal Tracker. Well, David is running a charity 5K on September 21st to combat cervical cancer in African women. It's only a few days away, but if you'd like to make a last-minute contribution to his efforts, please check out walkrunforwomen.dojiggy.com/brothers. Thank you.
Move, damn you!
I am out here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon because I've decided to figure out how long it takes for me to run a mile. And this is not something I've done since like 10th grade, I guess. And I do remember my middle school times. 7th grade was like 8.5 minutes, and 8th grade was like 11 minutes because 7th grade had ruined me as a human being. I'm sure most of you know the feeling. Anyway, I've been curious about it for a long time, and, being physically fit guy, I figure that, I should at least know how long it takes me to run a mile. And I'm not a runner. I hate running. I'll do circuit training all day, but I just hate running. But yeah, I want to see if I have at least, say, an 8-minute mile. If I'm not better than my 7th grade self that didn't work out, I'm going to be very disappointed. And one of these days I might, do a 5K fundraiser or something like that, so I don't know, this is going to be great. And I'm going to just leave the camera hanging by my belt, so this is going to be kind of horrific to watch. But I did bring somebody to do commentary, so at least you'll have something to listen to until this is over. Hey, this is totally a beautiful day for some heat stroke. It's actually like 100 degrees.
While this janky mess in the corner is happening, I'm going to tell you some fun facts about some runners, or at least give you a couple interesting things to Google later. Jim Fixx was a runner who is often credited with helping start the fitness boom in the 70s and 80s. He was a best-selling author on books about running and jogging, and a lot of people, unfortunately, know him as a punchline to a Bill Hicks or Dennis Leary joke. But the truth is, Jim was 220 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, had gone through 2 divorces, and was already born with a congenitally enlarged heart before he started running, at age 36. Yeah. So even though he died at age 52 of a heart attack, he had greatly increased his longevity and quality of life, even with all those years of damage and having the odds stacked against him genetically. So yeah, Jim Fixx was a cool guy. 2 other great runners are Bobby Gibb and Catherine Switzer. Bobby Gibb was the first woman to run the Boston Marathon in 1966, and Catherine Switzer was the first woman to run with a registered number in 1967, although it was against the rules. It's a crazy notion these days to even think that women were ever segregated from running a race, but back in the 60s, people didn't even think women were physically capable of running a marathon distance, and distance running was generally looked upon as thoroughly bizarre behavior. But thanks to Gibb, Switzer, and the women that joined them in 1968 and from then on, women were finally officially sanctioned to run the Boston Marathon in 1972. And great waves were made, man. Okay, so somewhere in the video around here, and you won't see them until it's on the way back, but there was a stable with a bunch of horses just hanging out because this college has a ranch. Unfortunately, this was not taken into consideration when planning a route, so there was a lot of real deep inhalation of horse droppings for about 20 or 30 feet. The best word to describe that part of the run is horrendous. Okay, back to interesting runners. Oh yeah, on the show we featured a few runners who specialize in different distances. Summer from episode 26 is an ultramarathon runner and has run 300-mile marathons. Try to wrap your head around that. I know. Jacqueline from episode 32 came back from a car accident to run the LA Marathon and Hartford Marathon and hopes to one day run New York and Boston. Brian from episode 34 runs marathons, half marathons, 10Ks, 5Ks, all kinds of stuff. Basically whatever comes within reach. And then there's April and Julio, but they're on the show all the dang time and will be again very soon, so hey, whatever. If you want to see a good movie on running, I recommend Spirit of the Marathon, directed by John Dunham. It's available on Netflix and Hulu. It's a documentary that follows 6 runners competing in the Chicago Marathon, all of different experience levels and goals. And if you've ever been curious as to why on this earth somebody would ever run a marathon, much less run marathons on a regular basis, it's a really good look at the determination and struggle that goes into such a venture. Also, I just found out that John Dunham has directed another running documentary called Spirit of the Marathon 2, which premiered this year in June and focuses on the Rome Marathon. It's another look at multiple people, including veterans and first-timers, although has more on their personal stories and less of the nuts and bolts of marathon training, which was featured in the first film. Oh yeah, obviously, we didn't show it in the video, but a warm-up is very important regardless of the distance you run. Like, at least do a brisk walk for a few minutes and work through the range of motion in your legs. A post-run stretch is important too, because if you run for the first time in a long time, you don't want your muscles to tighten up and cramp on you. Your calves and thighs are going to be feeling that run the next day to some degree. And this also goes without saying, but you should be well hydrated before running, but not so much that you have to furiously pee during the run. You should be drinking enough so that your mouth doesn't dry out. General advice is to drink 8 to 16 ounces an hour before running, and hydration from that point depends on the length you run. You have to drink before you get thirsty because sweat is made from blood fluid, so your blood gets thicker, so your heart works harder, and your temperature rises, and you need more water. It's a harsh cycle, man. I don't know why anybody runs this. It's kind of a really weird, crazy physiological venture if you really... Sorry, I'm losing my... Okay, looks like we're on the home stretch here. So, one thing about running that most beginning runners don't take into consideration enough is breathing. The better you breathe, the more endurance you have. You have to strengthen your diaphragm by putting deep breathing into practice while running. Maintaining that steady rhythm is really important because if you're taking shallow breaths, then you're gonna have to stop and gasp and wonder why you're lightheaded. If you look it up, you might find a lot of arguments over number of breaths per step and ratio of inhalation to exhalation, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety blah blah blah. But ultimately you should just focus on what works for you at your best pace. Look up the difference between chest breathing and belly breathing. It's easy to perceive running as just being arms and legs until you actually start pushing the pavement and want to lie down under a tree and go to sleep instead.
Okay, now that I've been lying on the ground here for about 2 minutes, 8 minutes, 4 seconds, not bad for a non-runner, not like I have a chart of averages to compare it to. It probably would have been easier if it wasn't 100 degrees out, but I'm one of those people who, if I get into the spirit of things, like I have to do it right away, or I'll just turn on the TV and start playing Saints Row 3 again. But yeah, I'm fairly happy. I only needed to slow down from a jog to a trot to a slow walk for about, I don't know, about half a minute. But my lungs didn't give out and I don't feel like throwing up, so I did something right. But regardless, it is important to be good at running, or at least sprinting, because if there's anything you should get out of exercising on a regular basis, is that you should be able to run for your damn life at any second. And not just running, you know, be able to vault over shit and pick up stuff and throw stuff and push stuff and fling doors open and save those in need and whatnot. So you should at least be all around a useful person in the case of an emergency. So, you know, people who just don't like training or working out or whatever, you know, your body might just have to save your ass someday, or save your brain someday. So it's just straight up irresponsible to, you know, leave this vessel that carries your mind around. You know, you can't let that go to waste. Okay, that was not that bad. I really don't think I'm running a 5K anytime soon, but I'm glad I finally did this. Feels good, man. I'm going to go home and drink a lot of chocolate milk.
So apparently, if you look up like chocolate milk after a long run, you'll get hella results, and people say it's a really great thing to drink after a long run or workout or something. Which is funny because, truthfully, I just like chocolate milk. Didn't know it was a thing. But, you know, these days everything's the thing. If a couple of people back it or whatever, which is why workout tips are so funny. Like, odd funny. Maybe I shouldn't have drank all this before he got out of the shower.
Angvar, what the fuck?
Look, man, you were going to go back to Target anyway.